Welcome to Haxby Shed. It would be very useful if I could use this tailstock 4-jaw chuck for indexing. And so I'm going to drill 24 holes in the backplate, each spaced at 15 degrees. So I need to figure out how to do that. It will involve my spindexer and it will involve my toolpost drill attachment. But after that, it's a bit of a head scratcher to figure out how this is going to work. Let's have a look at some options. To do the drilling, what I will do is put my drilling attachment in there. I'll have to turn that around that way. You can see I've already rotated this 180 degrees. If I take that up there, I should be able to get it to a position where I can drill into that backplate. So the next question is how to index this chuck with the spindexer. What sort of setup will that be? Well, I've got an idea. I've got myself this piece of 20mm bar. Now, to be honest, when I bought it, I thought it was bright bar, but it's black. And it's not super round. So I'm going to have to skim it in one or two places. But I'll show you what the idea is, because I'm going to put one end in this chuck, the other end in that chuck, with the spindexer in the middle. I'll show you. Okay, so here we go. I've put that 20mm bar between the two chucks, and I've got the spindexer just hanging from it at the moment. But what I can do, if I clean up this bar, I can put a collet in the spindexer, but I'll need to get the spindexer supported with this line at the centre height. Now I do have something, a block to go under here, which I could put on the cross slide, but then I wouldn't have my tool post drill attachment in play then, and I don't know quite how I'd rig up something besides this, some alternative to this, to drill these holes. So I'm going to have to make some kind of base block here to support this on the centre line of the lathe. I've thought about it. It could be wood, but if I use wood, well, we all know wood might be okay if I just use it once, but wood is mobile, isn't it, with humidity and temperature, so it might not be so accurate in time. But I do have some shower wall, and shower wall is made of MDF or high density fiberboard with a resin, and it's waterproof, so that might be an alternative. But I'd have to build it up in layers because it's only 10mm thick. So give me a minute to think about what I'm going to do here. This is the packing piece I made that goes onto the cross slide, made out of the shower wall, 10mm shower wall cladding. And that just sits on there, and the spindexer sits on top. And this is pretty stable stuff. But like I said, I need something to go under here that comes off the bed of the lathe. It doesn't have to be super clamped down or anything. It's angular accuracy that's more important to me than any kind of lateral or vertical accuracy. I just need to set it up the once probably. I may never use this setup again once I've got this thing indexed. These two bits of wood under there take it to about where I need it. So it needs to be about 85mm off the flatways. I've just put these bits of packing in here to about the right height. It's just a prototype. This is a bit of old plastic curtain rail, 10mm deep. And this is the block of wood that I use to protect the bed when I'm taking the chucks off. It's just about the right height, that. Now, I think I will turn this spindexer around this way. I need to clean up this black bar a bit. And if I turn this round this way, I only need to clean up the shortest amount of bar. I think I'll do that next. Put a collet in to this and just see where we are with this packing there. Well, the bar's a bit bent. I'll have to read more carefully in future, won't I? And take care to buy bright bar. Never mind. I'll just take it down to a collet size or close to. Well, it wants to be a bit awkward, so I'll centre drill it and put a live centre in. That's finished just a shade over 19mm, or 3/4 of an inch if you like. Next day, take this out, swap ends, I'll just clean up the other end. So this end will go into the 4-joint tailstock. Okay, that's done. That was about 1200 RPM. I'm just experimenting with different speeds and feeds, sort of gradually building up my experience. So now we've done that, I think I can get the whole rig set up. And then the next thing to do would be to put the packing underneath the spindexer to get that level right. Yow, yow, yow. Here's a tip, don't trap your finger between the top slide and the cross slide when you're spinning it round. I've got a 5C to ER32 collet chuck, which I'll then put in the spindexer with a 19mm collet. Might be a bit tricky to get in, I may have to take the tailstock off. Let's just see. There we go. So far so good. Well, carry on. Well, it looks like the rig is going to work. I need to clock up this chuck here, make sure that's dead centre. I still need to turn around my drilling attachment here, and I need to properly pack this and get it level and right. But otherwise, I think this is going to be a runner. With this, I just need to undo these two grub screws, pull that off, take this out, turn it round, put this back on these two flats here, tighten that up, and we're done. I think that's near enough for this. So now to pack this properly. This might look a bit amateur with a couple of blocks of wood, 2 bits of plastic and a piece of paper for the final bit of packing, but there's no angular movement whatsoever on that, and it runs as freely as anything. So now I need to get my centre drill set up in the drilling attachment and get that positioned correctly, and then pretty much I'm there and ready to start drilling around the periphery of this backplate. It's a 1/4 centre drill, so I'm putting in a 6.5mm ER11 collet. I'll lock the carriage. This face of the backplate is 14.75 millimeters across, so I need to find the halfway point on that. I've just centre punched it at 7.37. And now I'll line up this centre punch mark with the tip of the centre drill. Now this all works very comfortably with a short drill. I don't want to find that when I put a long drill in, I've got to move everything back and all my settings change. So right from the beginning, I'm going to move this multifix right back as far as I can. And I'm going to move this in the holder back as far as I can and check that I can get the drills that I need into this fixture without having to make any adjustments like here or like here. And then it keeps everything in the same alignment. The finished hole size is going to be 6 millimeters. So I've got a 6 millimeter chucking reamer, a 5.5 millimeter drill. I've checked and I've moved this multifix back to here so that I know that I will be able to get these in and clear this. Now one thing I hadn't thought about, you see the spanner flat in there. So to change this drill out of here and replace it, I will need to take this out of this holder. But I'm happy it'll go back in the same place and relocate okay. So that much is now set up. There we are. And the chuck doesn't strike the front of the top slide. So let's do some checks. The chuck is tight. The collet is tight. The spindexer is set to 0 degrees. This is tight. These are tight. This is packed. This chuck is tight. I've checked that I'll be able to get my drills into here without having to adjust this. So I think I'm ready to have a go at drilling my first hole. Here's the drill. Here's the flexible drive. Wish me luck. Well, it works. It's slightly painful, but it does work. I'll just have to get used to it, I think. Okay, so now I need to index on 15 degrees and drill the next one. Loosen this, take my pin out, move on to 15. There's the 0 mark up there. Just a minute. Well, you join me as I reacquaint myself with reading the spindexer. I had put this 0 against the 0 here as my 0 reference, but I don't think that's quite the right way to do it. There's a V mark here between the 4 and the 5 on this scale here, and so I've reset it with the 0 on the black dial against that mark and then the 0 peg in. So now I'm going to turn it 15 degrees, take this peg out, loosen this off, turn it till I read 15 on here, put the peg in the 5, and that's now 15. Lock this and I can drill my second hole. Just took me a bit of time to remember how to do that. So you can see what I mean with the V aligned to the 15 on the dial and the peg in the 5. So with everything locked in position again, let's try hole 2. That looks alright. Okay, I don't think anybody should be asked to see somebody drilling 24 holes. So I'll come back when I've done all of these 24 with this centre drill. To minimise the chance of a mistake, I've written down this table, just adding 15 each time. and I'm crossing each one off as I do it. I've got 6 holes drilled and it's going pretty well, but there was just a little bit of a wobble, a little bit of chatter. So what I've done is I've pinned this block down to this base with a panel pin, and one at this side as well, over here at this side. And then I've got a G-clamp and clamped the side of this base block onto the bed. So I think that I can just get round the rest now, and I think it'll go smoothly. We shouldn't see any chuck wobble at all now as I drill this. There we are, I think that was no wobble. That's all of them drilled, so I'm now going to come back round to the first hole, and I'm hoping that the drill will sit in that hole perfectly and that nothing will have slipped. It's always a bit of a nervous time, that, isn't it? So I'll just unlock my spindexer, move it round to 0 again, my starting point. Give me 1 second. It's in. Does it line up? Oh my goodness. Whoa, it lines up. As I swap this out and put the drill in, I'm going to have to change my collet to a 5.5mm collet for the drill, because these ER11 collets only have a span of 0.5 millimetre. So 13mm on there, 17mm on there. That's it. Only light nip. Can you see that? How that drill is wandering about all over the place. So, bent drill, bent collet. Got to check that. Something not quite right. I've changed the drill and it's fine now, but it was a combination of 2 things. The other drill was a bit out of true, but there was another problem, and that is that this collet chuck is blind at the end. There isn't a hole going all the way through. And the problem was that the drill was hitting that blind end. As I tightened it up, it was pulling the drill slightly out of skew as well, I think. So we've got round it now, and I can try and drill my first hole. Well, I've drilled my first hole 6.6mm deep, and I now want to check to make sure that there's something to come off with the reamer. Yes, and it looks like there is a bit to clean up with the reamer, so I'm confident to go ahead now and drill all those holes at 5.5mm diameter, 6.5mm deep. It's proving a bit tricky to work from the cross slide dials, so I'm going to fit my cross slide stop, which I made some time ago. I never used it before, so it goes where the travelling steady would normally go, and then you can adjust it and then clamp it here with this nut, and then I don't have to think about how deep I'm drilling. I'll just move it across until it hits the stop each time. Hopefully you can see the cross slide stop fitted there. This bit here, I've had to extend it slightly here, but the end of this screw just comes up against the Allen screw, which is screwed into the cross slide. So I've set the depth that I want for my drill, and it just moves across until it hits that stop, and that makes the whole business of getting the right depth a lot simpler. Hole number 5, got a bit of a process going now. Everything's gone well, and I'm just about to drill the last of those 5.5mm holes. Having the cross slide stop just takes all the brain work out of it. You just need to just turn the handle till it stops, and really it's done. Okay, so let's move it on. 15 degrees, unlock, pin out, rotate, 3, 4, 5, move this pin to the 5 position, feel it's in, lock it up, it's aligned, Maybe a little bit of oil on. That's it. It's hit the stop. Wind it out. That's done. Now I can set up for the reaming. I'm pleased to see that the reamer is running true. I've set my drill on to the low speed. I'll ream this till it bottoms, then I'll reset the depth stop on the cross slide. I'm now on to the very last reamed hole. You have to do it in 2 passes because the swarf builds up in front of the reamer as it goes down that blind hole. So what I'll do now is dismantle the rig, clean it all off and see where we've got to. And I need to give some thought to some sort of peg which is going to go into these holes. Can you see a not so deliberate mistake? This fixing screw is not equal distance between these 2 holes. And I can see when I look down this hole that I have just caught the edge of this screw. It's so easy to make a mistake with so many different things to set up. I'm going to take that screw out and we'll just have a look and see what's happened. I'm not actually worried about it, it's just a bit annoying to make a mistake like that. Come on, you. Well, it didn't touch the thread actually, it was only the cap. Not too much harm done, but just slightly embarrassing, that's all. Looking at that now, I realise actually, if I'd had the screw right in the centre, the drill holes would have caught both sides, I think. So, you know, it was one side or 2 sides. I'm happy with it, it's alright. With the spindle bush in place, I can put my Morse Taper 3 shank of this chuck into the headstock, which I did on the video when I made this backplate, and it seemed a bit comical at the time. I hadn't thought of this. These indexing holes were an idea from one of the comments, and I thought at the time, that's a good idea, let's do that. So what I might do is rig something up from this bed stop because it's perfectly shaped to fit this V-way here. And so if I just extend a rod up and across, it could be exactly what I need to index this. And it would also work at the other end as well when this is in the tailstock. So between these 2, this and this rotating indexing base here, I can hold work horizontally, I can hold work vertically because my chucks all fit on there and my faceplate fits on there. So between the 2 I'm pretty well set up now. So I hope that was useful to you. Thank you for watching Haxby Shed.